Welcome back to a new episode of Relocate to Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Luca Shaked, and today's episode we will meet Jessica Schultz, a transformational breath coach and 9D facilitator and executive coach. Originally from Stockholm, Jessica is now a full-time resident of Ericeira, Portugal, having left the cold, dark north to create a life that feels lighter and more fulfilling. As a global citizen, she brings a wealth of experience from her diverse background. Jessica's journey has not been without its challenges. After years in the corporate world where she worked in human resources, she found herself facing stress burnout and navigating a toxic relationship. It was in the midst of this chaos that she discovered her passion for healing and transformation. Today, Jessica is dedicated to guiding others through their own journeys of self-discovery and empowerment, using the tools and practices that help her find balance, resilience, and inner peace. Today, we're going to have a conversation about happiness, life, high performance, happiness and AI.
You can do this. It's a game.
This was just the first question.
Sorry.
I never thought I'd say that.
No.
You know what? Why?
I'm just thinking about the avocado, meat, food, potato. Like being very focused.
And I'm running, not ready, in underwear.
Oh, will she come in her lingerie? Like
You have to schedule sex. Put it like that.
All we need is love.
Relocate to happiness.
Well, hello, Jessica. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
You're such a good sport, like on such a short notice you made it. So I really want to thank you for taking the time and to giving me the chance to have a talk to you. I'm super excited about our conversation today. And we're here in Ericeira in Portugal. So I always ask my guests about their journey. And I want to ask you about literally your journey, today, like from moving from Sweden to Portugal. How is it?
It's great. It's different. Talking about like the theme of the topic of today's conversation is about happiness. It's been a way. I mean, the whole idea of moving countries was that I was not happy in Stockholm, in Sweden. And I was looking for another place where I could feel like where my soul belongs, where I feel more at ease and more at home. And I do definitely feel that here.
But you were saying this now, and isn't Sweden like in the Nordic country, one of the highest index of happiness now that I think about it?
Yeah, it really depends on how you define happiness, I think. I mean, it's a very personal experience, happiness, isn't it? So
how would you define happiness?
I would say that it is a difficult one because it's a feeling. I think that I choose to create happiness in my life. So I think it is an active choice to be happy because it doesn't just voila come to you. Mm-hmm. It is something that has to do with well-being, being able to express yourself. And for me, freedom is super important, to be free to do what I want to do, to be free to really live my life the way I want to without having other people sort of... I don't fit the mold, and I think that's probably why I wasn't so happy in Stockholm. And Stockholm has changed a lot the last sort of 5-10 years to quite a cold place, a place where I don't feel like
You don't belong to.
I don't belong there. And
like cold metaphorically, not only physically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have. I mean, I am Swedish. I'm brought up there. I got like two children there. I got my family and friends. But it was sort of not enough to feel happy, because happiness comes from a place within. It's not from all the external things in your life. It's sort of, it's created here. It comes from here.
So how would you feel that the environment affected your happiness, and how do you think the environment in general is affecting lasting happiness?
I think that is super important. That's a really, really good question. And I think that, I was just example the other day, I was just sitting on the beach, watching listening to the waves, watching the waves, And I mean, that is just, and the sun was shining, and it's just the beauty of the surroundings here is just, I mean, that is happiness. So I think that just being here is with all the colors, because Stockholm and Sweden now, it's beautiful for a little bit. I don't know if you've...
I've been once, yeah.
Yeah, but in the northern hemisphere in general, you got like, it's like the leaves get like super, I mean, beautiful with all these colors, orange and everything. And then they fall off. And then they start, the dark, and then it goes gray and dark. And that's how it is for like maybe 6 months a year. And that just sort of does something with people, for sure. The lack of beauty, the beauty in the surroundings. I mean, obviously there are beautiful places, but it's not like here where you see that the sky is blue, you got colors all the year around, and just the beauty of nature. And it's so accessible living in a small place like Ericeira. So
how blessed are we to live here?
Yeah.
Actually.
It is.
I think we take it, like, sometimes I feel like take it too much for granted.
Yeah.
But going back, so I was in Sweden during the summertime, not in the winter. I want to go back for a second on the question I didn't let you answer, actually. How do you think, like, they measure this index of happiness? How do they get like this such a high score? Because, and I want to go back to the differences between Portugal and Sweden. Not only weather, that is very important. Yeah. And then I want to share also something funny with you.
Yeah, I think it has. I really don't know how they measure it, but I do think that they talk about the material standards. I mean, how much, like, the materialistic part of life, the importance of having, obviously, I mean, enough money to live, to have a good housing and good food and all of that. So I think that measures a great deal, but also the freedom, obviously, to travel and to do things and to enjoy life. But that comes with a price for me, I think. It is the price is that you really have to live in the box. You have to work your 40 hours a week. You have to do all of this. And a lot of people work really, really hard. And that's what I did as well. And that, well, I think we'll get into that as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
that you have, it's a nice thing to have a full calendar and you just sort of, I mean, it's a totally different life. But yeah, a lot of people are happy. But that's because I think that maybe they haven't really experienced the other type of happiness that comes from another place. And I think it's really interesting that you bring that up. I need to check that, because how do we measure happiness? Because it's really a very individual thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what makes you happy may not be what the same thing as make me happy.
Yeah, I think they're looking more, like life satisfaction. So they're looking like, I don't know how there's like whole reports about it. Yeah. And they're asking, like, how are you? I think it's like government policies, maternity leaves, days of holidays. Yeah. I'm just throwing, but there's like there's an index, and there's like a lot of metrics that they're using, and they're asking people. Yeah. And for some reason, because they were joking about the fact that also Israel was like in top 10. Yeah. And I'm just like, really, does it make any sense? With all the war and everything, like, does it make any sense now? But they were talking about like the family and this feeling of belonging and connection between people. So I think that they have a few metrics. And I guess what I saw, like, from all these Nordic countries, I don't remember if it was Sweden or something else. I think it was Norway or Finland. I don't remember exactly. But they also had like the highest level of happiness, right? But they also have like the highest rate of suicidals. Yeah. So I'm like, how does this work exactly? How do you guys measure that,
Yeah, so I think something is skewed there, because 25% of the Swedish population are on some type of antidepressant.
Ooh, okay.
And that, that's in the league of suicides. And I think that's Finland, because Finland is, it's a tough place to live as well. I think a tough, difficult, challenging in many ways.
Interesting. I was talking to a friend about this thing with the antidepressants, and she's American, and they were telling me that in the States, you can get like, you go to the doctor, you get like a prescription, and then they give you like with the same amount. She asked like something for like calming pills for the flight. So you can get with the same prescription, like up to 5, 6, 7 boxes of the same medicine. And she was like, no, I just need one pill, I'm cool, whatever. They just gave her like this, a few boxes, with one prescription. But we went to this dark, so let's move from the dark to the light. Yeah. And I want you to tell me a bit about your journey. And I know that you've been in the corporate world and you experienced burnout yourself. And I have a lot of guests here that they had like made these huge transformations. Tell me a bit, how was it the life before being a coach and the transformational coach and
I mean, life was on surface great, wasn't it? I had a great career in human resources, working for several different companies, but like one big American corporation, and that was great. I had like my own car, and I had a lot of responsibilities, and it was sort of felt like a meaningful, good job. But I worked a lot. And
how much a lot? How much time?
I mean, I wasn't really probably about somewhere between 50 and 60 hours a week, probably.
Okay.
And on top of that, I had like small children and was married, and we lived in this house that we were renovating, and it was just a lot. Life was just a lot of responsibility and obligations, and that lasts so long because in the end it was just I totally burned out because I was chasing the wrong things. That in the end, and now looking back with some retro perspective, is that that's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then I got a gift. At that time, it didn't feel like a gift, but I was made redundant. Because they were actually downsizing in Sweden, this American company, and I was in charge of because I was the HR manager, so I was responsible for all the like closing down everything, which also gave me a really good redundancy package, which meant that afterwards I had some time to think about stuff, and so I'm like, God,
ooh, what am I doing?
Yeah, what am I doing, and what's the purpose and meaning of this type of life? I don't really want this.
I'm doing now a course of Chief Happiness Officer. And one of the statistics was that the number one reason of unhappiness at work is the lack of meaning.
Yeah.
And which is a lot like in Generation Z. But talking about your journey and what you said, like, how many people are just going through this, over and over, like, rat race, and they just don't know there's something is wrong. So I want to ask you, when was your aha moment? When did you understand this, like, wait a second, something is wrong here?
It was really when I started to, because I've been working a lot with supporting within HR, work with people that have gone through a stress burnout and been on the way into a stress burnout, and just sort of that's been a great part of what I've been doing, supporting managers, supporting their employees, going through this process and everything. And then when I start to feel that myself eventually, because I left this job, went back, that's when I started my own business, and we are creatures of habits. So what happens is that I go from like the ashes into the fire again. So I do go into like building my new free life as my own business owner, as a consultant, starting to run the same type of rat race. But I had a bit more control, and I could sort of say yes and no to assignments and what I wanted to do.
And probably also like lower the numbers of hours, no?
Yeah, but then of course, when you're your own, like when you sell yourself, you have to build yourself a brand. You have to do other things.
Yeah.
So what I spent a lot of time like trying to recreate myself and find myself, and who am I when I'm not in this corporate role? What does that look like? And
what's my identity? Who am I? Go ahead.
Yeah. So who am I? That was sort of, and it took me some years, and I started to like got in contact with personal development, and Tony Robbins. Maybe you know about him, but he was sort of my guru.
I think I've kind of heard of him a few times.
Yeah.
This guy, the big guy, right?
Yeah, the big guy.
Yeah. I think I heard a few times about just a small coach, like.
Yeah, a small coach. Yeah, he just charges $1 million a year if you want to work with him individually, if he even taken a new client. So yeah.
Yeah. But he has like the people, the advisors, right? Like the other coaches that work for him. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I had to.
But no, it was really. So I started to do a lot of work with myself, but I was still aiming for what. I mean, it wasn't really. It was the external things still, more money, more of that. So money to create my free life to sort of, but it was over there. It was somewhere over there. And then I worked. So I have freedom to decide my hours. So maybe I worked the same amount of hours, but it was like Saturday, Sunday evenings. So my kids said, "Mom, you work all the time. What are you doing?" They saw me working all the time. So that's when one day I woke up one morning and I couldn't actually get out of bed because my legs did not carry me out of bed. So that's how bad it was. I was not listening to all the signs that I looked like I was gray in my face. I had anxiety. I was not in a good place. So one day I just couldn't get out of bed. And then I needed to go see a doctor. So that was sort of, and I got some antidepressants or anxiety relief because I had such bad anxiety. It was just awful. So I think that's where that's when I started to sort of, my God, something.
This is how burnout looks like.
Yeah, that was burnout, and it's an awful place to be. I was not comfortable in my body. I wasn't really, and I was totally I didn't function. It was really, really
You were like
bad.
blocked completely.
Yeah, completely blocked, completely. I just I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't know how to do, how do you do things when you don't produce results, when you're not productive? I mean, and who am I? What do I like? I'd sort of put myself in like, I wasn't important in my life at all. I was just someone that was serving others, looking out for other people's needs. I mean, my kids and everything, but also in my business and everything. It was just, so I had to start when I'd seen the doctor, when I gone to the doctor, I had a practice and that was drink coffee and just drink coffee and with two hands. And I was like, my God, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? Because I always had, like when I was working, I mean, I didn't really go out for a coffee break.
Of course, and eating lunch in front of the computer.
Everything was at the desk. I didn't break. So, and I was...
and then you have to take a total break.
Total break. And it took me about a year to come back to redefine, to find myself again. I didn't even know what food I liked. I didn't know what I liked to do. Because I totally closed everything off. So yeah, it was. Then you get some perspectives of life. That's for sure. So, yeah.
Wow. Like, I don't know. I had a few questions, but I have to process the information because the first thing that when you were talking about kids and everything, I'm working now on a course like to find the balance, like for motherhood, career and self-growth. Mm-hmm. And my question was like, can we have it all? Because I call it like the mom that wants it all. But this was the question before you told me your experience, with burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just I didn't like I knew I had the intro, but it's the first time when I hear the story.
Yeah.
And I feel that I need to pause a bit and to I think it's beautiful that you came out of it and that you are here to share. And I'm sure that there are many other women, and not only also men. They don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
And then life stops them.
Yeah, because it does eventually, because then your system closes down. Because what happens when you're that stressed, obviously, it's your prefrontal cortex closed down. So you're in a constant fight and flight, and you're fighting for your survival, and you can't think a proper thought. I mean, one day I drove to work, and I had my kids. I was going to get my kids to the daycare, and they were still in the car. I had to turn around and go and drop them off. And that's not, I've heard many stories like that, so I'm not the only one, but that's when you realize that, yes, you can combine it all, but then you need to work. I mean, then you have to have some sort of healthy balance in what you do, and also realize what is most important.
Of course. Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea about your story, but honestly, it's just like to hear it out loud from you, you know, it's just so inspiring and so strong, you know. I'm happy that it's behind you, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you guys decided to, so what happened? You guys decided to move here. You decided to, when did you become like a breath coach? Like walk me through.
Yeah, that was a part of, so when I actually suffered the burnout, I had to try to rebuild myself, because it was like the dark night of the soul. I was really on the bottom. So I had to sort of, okay, who am I? What do I want? What's important to me? So yoga and meditation and breathwork became those tools that I worked with a lot. And I couldn't really at that time, it was hard to sit in meditation. So I did yoga to get into to really to be able to meditate, and did a lot of like pranayama, breathing exercises. And and it's taken a long time to build up to build up this person that I am today, and where I find that I am in a good place, I'm in a happy place. And but also I didn't really, so it took me some years before I actually made the decision of moving here, and that was also about this being resilient. And that's what I got a podcast where we talk about resilience, because that's really close to my heart and my journey. Because it's not like, I mean, life happens, and things will happen. You will lose people. Things will happen. So what happened eventually with I divorced the father of my children, and I sort of started to
build like a new life for yourself.
Build a new life, and what it was to be like every second, like mom half-time mom and half-time being my own. It's been super challenging, but I eventually found my way back to a life that I wanted. And then life hit me again, because then my mother had an accident, and she passed. It's 2 years ago in December, and she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
February, in February next year, it's 2 years ago. And she was just this very, very obviously very important. We were really close. And that's when you... And it was just like from one day to another. She fell and really badly, and
That was it.
That was it. She was spent 2 months in the hospital, but she couldn't. There was just nothing. She gave up eventually. And that's when thanks to that, talking about being resilient, I know that I've been through things, and I know that I can live through anything, basically, because life will never give you anything that you can't cope or handle. But that's when breathwork.
That's debatable, but okay.
It is.
No, finally you find your way, but sometimes it's such a struggle that you're like...
Yeah, in that moment, and when you're overwhelmed, and when you're in that space, obviously you don't think that this is going to be, I'm a superwoman, and this is not going to... So obviously you need to allow yourself to be like, really, whatever the situation is, but be in a place of sorrow, sadness, pain, whatever that is. But the knowingness that this will pass too.
Exactly.
And that creates something, and that the resilience that's built with that, and what comes with that. But also how how everything that happens to us, even though it's a bad thing, how can we learn from that? How can we draw something from that experience, which I've done with my living in a toxic relationship and coming out of stress burnout, and then losing my mother. It's so, okay, if this is going to be any meaning, I need to do something good of that. What is the learning? And with the passing of my mom, I decided, okay, I want to change my life, and I've been wanting to do that for a long time. Like, now is the time. Because all of a sudden, this life that we have, it's not going to last forever. So I can't sit around waiting for it. And my children are not big enough. They're 17 and 20.
Oh, wow.
But they're still with their dad in Sweden. So I'm here by myself. So
wow, that's not easy.
Yeah. But it's a choice about this, to listen to your inner calling and what your heart wants and what your soul wants you to do. So we make life choices, and sometimes the difficult choices have to be made. But in the end, we're the creators of our life, aren't we?
That's so inspiring and so deep at the same time. Talking about your mom, I also wanted to share. So my mom is a doctor, and she's 69, and she actually had a birthday like 2 days ago.
Oh,
so
nice.
they're back in Romania. Everybody, like all my family is in Romania. So she was forced to retire. She wanted, like, theoretically, you have to retire at 65, but the doctors can do it until the age of 70, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So she just, like, every year she would go, she would put, like, there is a form, and then she would get approved from the manager of the hospital. And this year, in the last moment, they said to her that no. And more than that, they told her that, like, she tried to talk to the manager, she tried to do, like, to contest, no, how do you say, like, to... It's not a trial, but, like, before that, like, to...
Yeah, it's some sort of formal complaint somehow.
To complain against it, like, it was actually a complaint. Nothing worked, so now she's going to be retired. And I felt like from her side, it was like, what am I going to do now? So she's like a doctor for more than 40 years. And then she was thinking, maybe I will go and just go work for a private clinic. But thinking about it, it's just like... And she was like, you know what, maybe after so many years of working, maybe I should just start to relax and enjoy life or something.
Yeah.
But what I heard from her was like, who am I? Talking about that identity. And if I don't go to work, what am I going to do now?
Yes.
And then she had, like, for the birthday, she had my sister over. She had, like, a lot of, she had, like, a little party and whatever. And she's like, oh, you know what, I will think about it after. And she's like, no, I'm cool about it. I'm okay about it. But I was like, no, you're not. You're completely lost. And I think this is like when we're, who are we?
Yeah.
And what are we actually doing? Like, what is our job? So I just felt like sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm also going through, like, some not hard time, but it just like. And we're always, like, used for her to work, to go to work, to do stuff.
Yeah.
So let's see what will happen now.
Yeah, I think it is a gift, I would say, to be in that space. Because if you've been, we are not our jobs. We step into an identity. So who are we? And sometimes you need to be a bit lost to find yourself.
Yeah.
And just get in contact with something that lives within, that has been buried and hidden for a long time. So I think that, and for your mother, if she can find, but it obviously, being a doctor, you have a purpose and meaning with your life, and that's super important to not lose that purpose and meaning, but maybe find that somewhere else and do it in a different way. And there's so many other ways you can contribute, because I think we need we really, this with community and belonging, I think that's super important to us human beings as a species.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let me think. Let's talk about happiness, right?
Yeah.
And how I told you, like, to move from the darker side, like from that journey to. So today you are working with people, right? Like with like breath work, yoga, NPL practitioner, right?
Yeah.
How can people find you? How can, let's say I'm a new client, I'm somebody else, like I'm a person that wants to actually work with you. How can we contact you? What would you do, like, in the first sessions, and walk me through the whole. I'm a potential client here.
I work I combine nowadays, because I think that previously I've been working as like an executive coach. I've been working especially with leadership and supporting leaders to step into their best leadership suit, basically to put on that suit to be the best leaders they can in their professional life. But then obviously we're the same person in the professional life as in a private life. We're the same human being. and that needs to be taken into context. So I think that the combination of, I really like to see that I meet people where they're at. So what are their challenges? How big is the transformation and the shift that you want to make in your life? How much work have you been doing with yourself previously? So I find that the combination of actually mentally and verbally discuss and talk about things, that is one tool, like the coaching methodology. But then in combination with like breath work, where you can actually, like the transformational breath work that I work with is you actually work with releasing, healing trauma, releasing stress, regulate your nervous system, work with like reprogramming of your subconscious mind, because you know that your subconscious mind is what runs you. 95% of your life is run by your subconscious, which we're not aware of. It's that voice in the head. It's those programs that tell you that, oh no, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't behave like this, and all that sort of those voices. Sometimes you have maybe one on each shoulder, one that's super positive, and then you know that's more of your conscious mind in general, and the subconscious, that's the one that's been programmed in us before we were 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's when we it's like it's the hardware program that runs us. So really,
The hard drive,
absolutely. So when we need to start to reprogram that in order to actually create different lives. So you need to actually. So it's a powerful tool with breath work. It's a bit like hypnosis as well. You go into the deeper layers. It's like a shortcut to actually really make the change in your life that you want. Because you know that trauma, that sits in your body. So unprocessed trauma, which is, everyone is carrying, like, what is trauma? Everyone is carrying trauma, because just being born is a trauma in itself. It's like that separation from the safe place, like early premature separation from love. And we carry, trauma. Everyone does that. And that sits in your body, and that sits in your system. So if you don't heal trauma, so when you get into a similar situation, then you're actually reacting from an experience in the past that has not yet healed. So that's also what breathwork can do.
So how do we heal traumas with the breathwork?
It is about because trauma sits in a body, because it's unprocessed emotions that stays in a body. So it is actually by healing that without talking about it. Mm-hmm. So the body knows. It's somatic work, and the body knows. So you with your breath, you can actually go deeper into your system and your body, and reprogram and heal all of that, the nervous system, and it's also in the fascia. It's in the whole body.
Remember, I told you that I want to, before I let you answer how can people contact you and everything, I want to share something with you. I was very suspicious, about all this breath work and all this stuff. I did it a few times. The first 2 times were, I didn't suffer. I didn't do anything. I was like, okay, it was nice to take the time for myself. Mm-hmm. And then the last time I did it, I don't know can you say it was I was tripping? You get like a battery, like when you take drugs or something. Yeah. So I was tripping. It was outside. It was a group session, and talking about healing and traumas. I was not there, because I remember they were asking me a lot of questions about, oh, really, like, how did you feel your body? I didn't feel my body. Yeah. I was not there. I was in my childhood. I was 12, and I had like a trauma. My great-grandmother broke her leg, and they blamed me, and it was the whole thing. And I just like start crying and crying and crying during the breath work, again. And then I calm myself down. But what I wanted to say that I was not there, like in the, like today, I was like,
you left your
teleported,
body.
how do you say? In that moment when I was a kid, like in my childhood. And then it just, I felt like a great relief.
Yeah.
And then the woman that saw, like, the therapist, like, not the therapist, like the, how do you say?
Yeah, the breathwork coach or
like the facilitator.
The facilitator, yeah.
She was there, and she was like, look, and she was like, I saw you, and I let you, and I saw that you were like okay, because there are people also that they're reacting very badly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for me it was like, how is this possible to do this only with a breath work?
Yeah.
So talking about traumas, and I wanted to share this with you.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's really exactly, I mean, that's beautiful.
And
Because
I was completely, I was like, okay, what can you do with this breath work stuff?
Yeah, and that's what breathwork does. It's just amazing how really deep. I mean, this is a transformational breathwork session that you've been to, because otherwise you can't really release that much. But you go places and you.
And it didn't happen the first time. It happened like after a few sessions.
Because it's you have a resistance in your body. So some people are really, because you really have to surrender to the process and be because it can be quite scary. So your body can actually close down and just sort of stop you from really giving it all you got. So there's quite often it takes a few sessions before you can actually really give yourself completely and allow yourself to heal, because the healing is in the feeling. We have to feel the emotions. So obviously you in that situation from your childhood, you did not process that, the emotions. You didn't have the toolbox to process that, and it got stuck in your body, and that's why it was still with you. And then just process that, meet that, and just to release, because we carry that attention in our system. And just to
God knows how many things I'm carrying.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do, yeah.
We all do, and a regular breathwork practice is just so powerful to really go through that, and just it creates a feeling of lightness, of happiness, really, because and it also inner peace, because you can actually make peace with a lot of things that has happened. And I would say that they haven't happened to you, but they happen for you. If you can actually process this and go through and change it. So on the other side of pain, there is a release, and there's that's where you find that's the juicy thing. That's where you find the good stuff.
So how do you do it? You do it like one-on-one, or you do it on Zoom, or how do you like?
I do a combination, because here in Ericeira I do live classes, and then I do...
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah. And then I do one-on-ones as well, so I can do, and especially that's quite often when you have some really, because it is, and I'm trauma-informed, obviously, I'm used to work with people going through really difficult situations, so quite often I do one-on-ones when you have something really difficult to work through, and you want to have your own space to work with that. And I do online as well, so it's really...
it's a mix of both of them.
It's a mix. And when you do the online, you get a really, really good experience. The only thing that you don't get online, obviously, is that I am not there, because I do body work and hands-on assist and hold space. So then I'm just there as I can, but I will be there guiding and holding space and make sure that you're safe. Because breathwork is a safe modality.
Yeah, but I think it can go to the, like, if you're not well... guided, it can, I think it can make worse, no?
It can't really make it worse, but you can, but it would say the difference between healing and trauma is that you're actually, it's a matter of safety. So if you experience a situation where you feel safe, yes, that's a part of the healing. Otherwise, you don't heal, but you can't really make it worse. But safety is super important to so that is really important for me. So I always sort of hold space and be there. So that's really part of what I'm doing, and I love that people are crying and screaming and releasing stuff, because I know that as a part of the process. It's about it's a messiness, the beauty of the healing process, which is.
Wow. I wish I would be like a fly on the wall to hear what's happening there. Wait a second. What are like obstacles or challenges, like people start doing it, and what do you see like they're the most common obstacles when somebody starts this breath work, and that it's like it's between them and their happiness?
I think that people are in their own way, really. I think that we're our biggest enemy in a way too. That we sort of have an idea about happiness and who I am and what do I need and what makes me happy, and we're too much in our head. I say we're just quite often used that you're mind fucked. Basically, that's what we are. We're programmed to not really be happy completely, fully. So I think that what we need to do is actually to really, to connect with ourselves and release the trauma and actually really heal, because then we can actually start to feel happiness as well, because we have to feel all the emotions to be really happy, to feel joy, because if you're not allowing yourself to be angry or sad and really meet those emotions as well, you can't really be in that fully happy, joyful state either.
Yeah, I agree. And you talked about the design, like to be happy or not.
Yeah.
And I told you I'm doing this workshop now.
Yeah.
So one of the first question of the workshop I started yesterday was like day 1. Today I'm missing the day 2, like part of it. And the day 1 was like, are we designed to be happy? And then now I already know, because I took the courses, I did the course also in Portuguese and everything. And so everybody's like, yeah, of course, we as humans, we are designed to be that. And then I was like, I think that the question is tricky. Like, are we designed or not designed? And then I started saying that we are designed to be, to survive. So we're not designed to be happy. We're designed that the lion will run after us. And so we're designed to survive.
Absolutely.
We're not designed to be happy. Yeah. So this is the first thing that I wanted to add. The second thing that I wanted to ask you already for, and you mentioned it a few times, the overthinking, like these thoughts in our mind. And at the moment I'm reading for the second time, is called Women Who Think Too Much. Susan Noyle, I think, something like that. It's like it's a book that I'm reading now. I when I did the coaching course, I read it. It's like it's a tool, about rumination. But now I'm reading it for myself. So my question was, you're like an NLP practitioner, right? So how much like these patterns of thoughts, the repeating thoughts, are, I don't know how to say, like damaging us, or how can I put it in a nice way? Like how much it's in our control, and how much can we actually, how can we work with it?
It is, the mind is a muscle. We're like you said, I think you're onto it with that. We're made to survive, which means that we scan our environment for threats. That's a part of survival. So what we need to do is obviously to retrain our mind to see the good thing, to think the good thoughts, to focus on what's good in life.
Neuroplasticity 2.0.
Yeah. Absolutely, because that's the thing. Neuroplasticity, we have the power to change, and what we need to do is start to think different thoughts that will cause different neural pathways in our brain, so we can actually change. But it takes obviously practice and work. So I think that one of the practices is to start to be aware. Okay, what am I thinking? How does that make me feel? Okay, this thought, because what it really is, you have a thought, and that the thought will give you some sort of feeling, right? You will feel something, and that feeling will cause an action. So you will behave in a certain way. And
so how do we lower this like voice that doesn't want to stop in your head?
It's you have to be, be aware to say, okay, can I choose a better thought? Can I, if I think this. And that's the inner voice. We say in NLP, it's about the language. And the language that we use in our own head, we would very seldom use to like, I wouldn't say things to you like I say to myself or to my best friend.
Exactly.
And that's what we always, but in order to hear that, in order to notice that, we have to stop and start to think and be aware. Okay, wow, now I thought that thought. How can I reframe that thought in a different way? Can I choose another thought that will cause me to feel a different way and act differently? So it is really a practice, a ritual. And I think that gratitude is a really good practice, is that can you have like a daily gratitude practice? And that's as easy as just in the morning, think about 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for, and you go to bed with and thinking about that. And I'm not thinking about, you shouldn't use like the big thing, it's peace in the world or whatever.
Exactly.
It is those little things. Okay, yes, I have a nice bed to sleep in. I have somewhere to sleep. I get to wake up in the morning. I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for my body, for my health. I mean, whatever. And if you're sick, if you don't have your health, there's always something to be grateful for. So, but sometimes it's hard to find that. It's like you're digging for something, but you can. But it requires a daily practice. It's like, I mean, you don't become a marathon sprinter by just go out and run a marathon, do you?
We had the Ironman last weekend here in Cascais. I wonder how much they train.
Yeah, and we take that for that's a given one, that we train our body if we're going to do something. Like do the Ironman or whatever. But when we talk about our mind and our what do we do to train our mind? So,
what do we do to train our mind? I like that.
Yeah.
Give me practical tips for somebody, for people to do it every day. Something, like how you said the gratitude, or something like focus on, things that I'm grateful for, things to do, 5 good things that happened to me today. Give me some practical things for our listeners.
Yeah, but I think what you said is, I mean, that's really great. And I think that you can also, if you do some breathing exercises, just just breath awareness, just stop and be aware. Just spend time in nature. That's also a way of connecting to the simple beauty in life. So really, I think that just by being aware, looking for those small things that will make the big difference, and also cherish them, see them, feel them, to really feel embrace the emotions. When you talk about gratitude, it's not like you mechanically just say, I'm grateful for my life, I'm grateful for being here, I'm grateful for you. So it's not like you just sort of use the words. You have to put the emotions in them. Because I really believe what you're saying, because that's a good thing about our mind. It's really, really stupid because it doesn't know the difference what's happening and what you really vividly imagine. So you can actually think yourself happy, and you can think yourself unhappy. So
I like that.
So the more you really feel happiness, and you can travel in with your emotions as well. So if you don't feel happy at the moment, you can go to find that moment where you've had this immense feeling of happiness, where you, if you have children, when you we give birth to your child, or when you're in this beautiful context, when you met the love of your life, or where you had this beautiful laugh, whatever it is. So if you take that and move it into your body, and you can step into that emotion, that emotional state, then you can create a sense of happiness here and now, even if you're sitting in like a pile of shit. You can sort of, okay. And you can work with that and start to change the whole processes and everything in your system, in your mind, in your body.
Jessica, I'm very, very grateful to have you here. This is talking about gratitude. I'm very grateful to have you here today, and I feel that we have to do another session to continue talking about it, because I didn't have the chance to ask you. I have another 50 questions to ask you. But really, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I totally agree with you. I think we could spend hours talking about this.
We have to. We have to. Session 2 coming next week. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was super inspiring, and let's be happy.
Let's be happy, and it's an active choice to be happy.
Relocate to happiness.